Have you ever noticed how some people walk through life untouched by chaos, while others are shaken by every opinion, every betrayal, every rejection? These individuals move in silence, unbothered, unreachable. It's not that they don't feel. It's that they've mastered the art of not being controlled. They've turned vulnerability into strategy and emotion into discipline. They don't react, they calculate. They don't chase, they attract. And when the world tries to provoke them, they respond, not with outrage, but with poise. This isn't luck, it's design. It's what Niccolò Machiavelli understood centuries ago, that power is not something you demand, it is something you become. To become untouchable is not to become heartless, it is to become sovereign. It means that your emotions are yours alone, never public property. Your plans are silent, your boundaries sharp, and your focus unshakable. You are no longer at the mercy of praise or insult. You rise above. And when people cannot manipulate you, cannot define you, cannot provoke a single flicker of desperation from you, they begin to fear you. Not because you are cruel, but because you are free. Machiavelli never wrote to comfort the weak. He wrote for the ambitious, for those who understand that life is not always fair, and so you must become more intelligent than your enemies, more invisible than their expectations, more powerful than their games. In this world, to survive is not enough. You must become untouchable. He was brilliant, sharp, driven, and overflowing with ambition. A rising executive in a high-stakes corporate game. When he was finally invited to dinner with the regional director, he saw it as a breakthrough. Finally, someone noticed his talent. Over red wine and dim lights, he talked and talked. He shared his frustrations with his team, his thoughts on leadership, his vision for restructuring the entire division. He thought he was impressing them with insight. In truth, he was handing them a weapon. Within a week, rumors circulated. Colleagues began to distance themselves. Projects slipped through his fingers. The regional director he confided in smiled to his face, but privately labeled him a liability, a threat. His ideas were good, too good, and he had revealed his entire playbook. He wasn't promoted, he was reassigned. This is the first lesson of becoming untouchable. Silence is strategy. Machiavelli warned, "He who lets himself be known too much gives power to others." The more people know about your desires, your plans, your opinions, the easier it is to steer you, to trap you, to discredit you. In a world ruled by perception, your strength lies not in what you say, but in what you withhold. The untouchable individual doesn't announce every ambition. They don't correct every misconception. They observe. They listen. They let others talk, exposing themselves while they remain cloaked in quiet certainty. You may think transparency builds trust. Sometimes it does, but power rarely favors the transparent. It favors the enigmatic, the disciplined, the restrained. You don't need to be cold, but you must be unreadable. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them guess what you'll do next. The untouchable learn to weaponize mystery. You don't let people see your next move until it's too late to stop it. You don't share your struggle, because your struggle, once public, becomes your weakness. They can't use what they can't see. In every room, choose your words like a chess player chooses moves. Reveal only what you must, and always ask yourself, who benefits from what I say? Because once your thoughts are out in the open, they are no longer yours. They belong to the game. And in the game of power, information is not shared, it is traded. Never forget that. She was passionate, fierce. The kind of woman who didn't let things slide. When someone tried to undermine her, she clapped back. When her manager took credit for her idea, she wrote an email, with everyone CC'd. She believed in standing up for herself. What she didn't see was the trap being laid. The more she responded, the more predictable she became. And the more predictable she became, the easier she was to provoke. She was cast not as competent, but as combative, emotional, difficult. Behind closed doors, they called her a liability. Soon, she was passed over for promotion, not because she was wrong, but because she was too loud about being right. Machiavelli teaches us, never show all your anger, channel it. The untouchable do not react, they reposition. They don't fight every battle, they wait for the one that matters most. And when they strike without warning, without drama, without wasted breath. To be untouchable is not to be passive, it's to be patient. Every provocation is an invitation to overexpose yourself, to lose your grip. But power lies in the pause, in the space between the insult and your response. That space is where self-mastery is forged. When you react impulsively, you give your enemies the script. But when you respond with calm, with calculation, with controlled silence, you flip the script entirely. Suddenly, they're unsure, nervous, wondering what you're planning. You steal their power by refusing to give them yours. Let them underestimate you. Let them think you didn't notice. Let them believe they've won. Until your silence becomes their downfall. Until your silence turns into strategy. You will not rise by being loud. You will rise by being impossible to rattle. The untouchable don't waste energy proving themselves to small minds. They save their power for decisive moments, and by then, the room is already theirs. Remember, if they can make you react, they can make you lose. He had a strong sense of loyalty to his boss, to his team. He covered for them, protected them, even kept secrets that compromised his values, because he believed that loyalty would be rewarded. But over time, the dynamic shifted. He wasn't seen as a partner. He was seen as someone who would say yes to anything. They didn't promote him. They used him. Eventually, when he did speak up, when he tried to assert boundaries, he was ignored. Loyalty, once his pride, had become his prison. Machiavelli warned, the man who depends on the gratitude of others will always be disappointed. To become untouchable, you must understand that loyalty is a dangerous currency. Give too much of it, and you'll be owned. Give it too freely, and it becomes meaningless. Untouchable individuals offer loyalty with precision. They align themselves with people whose values match their own, not out of blind allegiance, but out of mutual respect. And even then, they never forget who they are when everyone else walks away. Being untouchable means having a core that cannot be bent by favors or friendships. You can be warm, generous, even loyal, but never dependent. Never bound by the illusion that someone else's protection will secure your future. Because those who lean too hard on others will always be pushed when they're no longer useful. The moment you realize that your value comes not from your obedience, but from your irreplaceability, you begin to move differently. You stop chasing validation. You start building leverage. Loyalty should never cost you your autonomy, and if it does, walk away, quietly, permanently. He was a visionary. He had ideas that could transform the company, and he presented them boldly, brilliantly, during an executive meeting. But what he didn't see was the look on the senior manager's face. The subtle tension. The realization that if this idea took off, it wouldn't be the manager getting credit. It would be him. The next week, the idea was reworked and presented again, without his name. He had been outplayed by a deeper game, not of ideas, but of ego. Machiavelli cautioned, you must not only be right, you must be strategic about who you appear to threaten. Being untouchable means understanding that truth and timing are separate things, that even brilliance, when revealed in the wrong room, can become your downfall. Power is not just about being smart, it's about knowing when to appear smart, knowing which egos must be soothed, which alliances must be built, which ambitions must be hidden, until the right moment. The untouchable learn to downplay their strength, until it can no longer be denied. They feed others' pride, while securing their own advantage behind the scenes. They don't argue for credit. They quietly own outcomes. Let others speak louder. Let them crave the spotlight. You build quietly. Move under radar. And when the time comes, your results will speak louder than any presentation ever could. The untouchable are not loud geniuses. They are silent architects. In a world that thrives on emotional manipulation, the one who remains detached is the one who cannot be controlled. Machiavelli understood this truth well. To be untouchable, you must first learn how to withhold your emotional responses. When others expect you to react angrily, passionately, vulnerably, give them only silence, calculation, or a slight smile. Emotional neutrality is not apathy. It is power wrapped in discipline. Detachment allows you to move without being moved, to act without being pushed. People who rely on emotional attachment are easily maneuvered. They become pawns in games they do not even realize they're playing. Machiavelli teaches us that emotional independence is the cornerstone of true sovereignty. When you detach, you no longer seek validation. You no longer require loyalty. You watch people as they are, not as you hope they will be. This clarity makes your decisions sharper and your influence unshakable. Detachment does not mean you are cold. It means you have chosen to place reason above impulse. You still feel, but you do not act on every feeling. You still care, but you do not collapse under affection. This balance makes you dangerous to those who depend on your reactions. They cannot anticipate your moves because you have made yourself unreadable. You become a mystery, and mystery always holds more power than transparency. This is not to say you should never love or never trust, but you must always remember that even the deepest affections can be used as weapons. Machiavelli warned, never place your fate in the hands of another, even if they swear devotion. Your emotional self must serve your strategic self, not the other way around. Love deeply, but keep your core untouched. Trust wisely, but never blindly. Detachment gives you the ability to walk away. And the person who can walk away from anything, any deal, any betrayal, any desire, is the one no one can truly defeat. Most people stay because they are bound. You stay because you choose to. And when that choice is gone, so are you. That is untouchable. Watch how people change when you stop reacting. When you stop feeding their drama, their games lose purpose. When you stop meeting them, they become unsure of themselves. The center of gravity shifts back to you. You are no longer a participant in their chaos. You are an observer, calculating when and how to act. In this space, you develop foresight. You begin to see how the world bends to those who are least needy. The silent strategist always wins over the emotional reactor. And while others are lost in turbulence, you remain the still eye of the storm, unmoving, untouched, and deeply in control. Detachment, then, is not a weakness. It is your shield, your sword, and your sanctuary. The more you master it, the more untouchable you become, not because you feel nothing, but because nothing can rule you. Everyone suffers, but few know what to do with that suffering. Most hide it, numb it, or let it control them. But Machiavelli would say, your pain is not a curse. It is a weapon, if you choose to sharpen it. To become untouchable, you must turn your wounds into wisdom, your heartbreak into focus, your betrayal into strategy. Every scar you carry is proof that you survived what was meant to destroy you. That makes you dangerous. Weakness is not in the pain itself. It is in being consumed by it. Many fall into victimhood, replaying their traumas like lullabies that lull them into inaction. But the untouchable man takes that same pain and lets it harden his spirit. He does not weep endlessly over what was lost. He studies it. He dissects it. He asks, what did this teach me about power, about people, about myself? Pain reveals truth. It exposes illusions. The friend who turned on you, the lover who abandoned you, the opportunity that collapsed. These were not accidents. They were lessons disguised as chaos. Machiavelli would urge you to extract the lesson quickly, cleanly, and ruthlessly. Waste no time in sentiment. The past cannot be changed, but it can be weaponized. It is often those who have suffered most deeply who possess the sharpest perception. Why? Because they have seen the mask fall. They know what betrayal feels like, what manipulation looks like, what false love smells like. Their senses are no longer dulled by naivety, and that awareness makes them immune to the traps that ensnare others. But turning pain into power is not an emotional exercise. It is a strategic one. You must take the raw, chaotic energy of heartbreak and channel it into something focused. Build, train, study, transform. Your heartbreak becomes your ambition. Your betrayal becomes your silence. Your loss becomes your detachment. In this transformation, you shed weakness like old skin. Let your enemies see you rise, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. Let those who underestimated you wonder how the one they tried to destroy became even more focused, more ruthless, more driven. That is the ultimate revenge, not retaliation, but transcendence. People will try to control you through guilt, shame, or sympathy. But when you've metabolized your suffering into strength, they find nothing to grasp. You cannot be shamed when your past no longer owns you. You cannot be manipulated when your pain no longer blinds you. You have seen darkness and made it your ally. And when others break under pressure, you remain calm. Because you've already been broken and rebuilt yourself stronger. That is what makes you untouchable. Power is not just action, it is presence. Some men walk into a room and dominate it without speaking. That is not magic, it is design. Machiavelli understood that the perception of power is often more effective than raw force. To become untouchable, you must cultivate your aura, the silent language of dominance, clarity, and intention. You don't need to scream to be heard when your silence commands respect. Your aura is a projection of how you view yourself. If you see yourself as weak, the world responds accordingly. But if you carry yourself with quiet authority, others feel it, even if they can't explain why. Machiavelli would advise, speak less, observe more. Let your presence speak volumes. Every movement, every look, every still moment becomes a statement of self-control and potency. This is not about arrogance. It's about self-containment. The more you say, the more you reveal. The more you reveal, the more others can use against you. Instead, let them wonder. Let your silence haunt them. Let your controlled smile suggest 1,000 secrets. People fear what they cannot understand. Use that to your advantage. Even in conflict, remain composed. Never raise your voice unless it's part of a calculated performance. True power does not flinch. It does not chase approval or plead for understanding. It simply exists, immovable, like a mountain, casting a shadow over the valley. You become untouchable, not when you have all the answers, but when you make others question themselves in your presence. Your stillness forces them to fill in the blanks. Your gaze unsettles them. Your restraint disorients them. And while they scramble to interpret you, you remain 10 steps ahead. Your aura is shaped by discipline, by self-mastery, by not needing to prove yourself. The less you try to impress, the more impressive you become. Most men try too hard. You don't try at all. You just are. When others posture, boast, or seek attention, you observe. You let their need expose their weakness. You understand that true dominance is never loud. It is subtle. It is felt. It is magnetic. That is the essence of your untouchability. So walk with purpose. Speak with clarity. Say less than necessary. And remember, the person who can command without words is the one who holds the deepest power of all. The path to becoming untouchable is not paved in noise. It is not walked with grand gestures or public declarations. It is a path of shadows and discipline, of inner mastery and ruthless clarity. It is the road of those who learn to rule themselves long before they seek to rule anything else. Machiavelli never wrote for the comfortable, he wrote for the cunning, for those who understood that the world does not reward innocence, but intelligence wrapped in restraint. And if there is one thread that binds every lesson, every scenario, it is this: power belongs not to the one who shouts the loudest, but to the one who knows when to remain silent. To be untouchable is not to be invincible. It is to be unreadable, unprovocable, irreplaceable. You make yourself the question no one can answer, the move no one can predict. You become the ghost in the hierarchy, present, influential, yet always just out of reach. You build alliances, not dependencies. You speak less and mean more. You watch more and reveal less. You become the person no one dares to betray, because they're never quite sure what you've seen, what you know, or what you're capable of. In silence, you grow. In restraint, you sharpen. And in solitude, you discover the truth that every untouchable mind carries deep within. That power is not given. It is not begged for. It is taken. Quietly, patiently, absolutely. So disappear when they expect you to fight. Smile when they expect you to fold. Wait when they expect you to beg. Let the world underestimate you.